Welcome to NTD Good Morning.
Here are today's top stories. President Trump laying out a timeline for a deal with Iran as the world's largest aircraft carrier heads to the region. Meanwhile, at home, the president hitting the campaign trail in a key battleground state as the race to replace Marjorie Taylor Greene heats up.
Andrew Mountbatten-Window released from police custody last night after being arrested on suspicion of misconduct in public office. Allegations he sent confidential government documents to Jeffrey Epstein.
President Trump ordering the U.S. government to reveal UFO and alien files after Obama sparks talk of extraterrestrial life.
An American figure skater, Alysa wins gold at the Milan Cortina Games, the first women's champ in 24 years.
From trackside speed to off-road obstacles to McLaren's most powerful supercar yet, we take a look inside this year's Toronto Auto Show.
This is NTD Good Morning, live from our global headquarters in New York City. Here are Stephanie Cox and Carrie Dunst.
Good morning. Thanks for joining us.
Today's Friday, February 20th. You're watching NTD Good Morning. In today's top news, President Trump laying out a timeline for negotiations with Iran as the USS Ford heads to the Middle East.
And the president announcing billions of dollars of pledges to rebuild Gaza at his inaugural Board of Peace meeting in D.C. yesterday. NTD's Washington correspondent Mari Otsu has more.
President Trump saying, giving Iran a 10 to 15-day deadline to make a deal with the U.S., also saying that Iran cannot continue to threaten the stability of the entire Middle East. The president's also announcing that the U.S. is ordering additional 22 B-2 bombers, while reminding those present at the Board of Peace meeting that it was those B-2s responsible for Operation Midnight Hammer, the taking out of Iran's nuclear facilities over the summer. And this is all coming as a Russian warship is conducting a joint Navy drills in the Sea of Oman along with Iran. Just a few days after Iran's Revolutionary Guards conducted drills in the Strait of Hormuz. The White House is saying that would be very wise for Tehran to make a deal, and that diplomacy is always President Trump's first option.
They cannot continue to threaten the stability of the entire region, and they must make a deal, and we have to make a meaningful deal. Otherwise, bad things happen.
This comes as the U.S. sends the world's largest warship to the Gulf, where it's expected to arrive in about 3 days. And while the Iranian regime insists its nuclear program is entirely peaceful, it is the only non-nuclear weapon state enriching uranium up to 60%, a short step away from weapons-grade material.
Yes, of course, the Iranians say that they're not interested in a nuclear weapon. We know, in fact, that's not true.
You can't have peace in the Middle East if they have a nuclear weapon. And they can't have a nuclear weapon, and they've been told that very strongly.
President Trump warning Iran at his inaugural Board of Peace meeting in Washington and announcing that the U.S. is committing $10 billion to the project of rebuilding Gaza, while other allies present make a $7 billion contribution. The president celebrates the return of all the hostages and delivery of humanitarian aid since the ceasefire last October and says the board will work very closely with the United Nations.
More impossible problems can be solved as we go along this very beautiful path. Everything's beautiful, but the ancient wounds can be healed, and they are indeed ancient.
Humanitarian aid has absolutely surged since the Gaza war ended. Our 4,200 aid trucks have entered Gaza each week for 13 consecutive weeks, the longest stretch of high-volume assistance to Gaza in years.
Meanwhile, President Trump is hitting the campaign trail in Georgia, a key battleground state that's recently been in the spotlight as FBI agents raided a Fulton County elections hub last month.
They raided the Fulton County storage house. And now the Democrats have hired a massive team of lawyers. Why don't they want them to see the ballots after all these years? You know why they don't want? Because they cheated, that's why.
The president has long called the 2020 election rigged, recently pointing to potential foreign interference from the Chinese Communist Party and saying that prosecutions are coming soon. At Coosa Steel, he's driving home election integrity and his tariff strategy as necessary for national security.
And you know who brought the cases against us? People that are China-oriented, people that have business in China, that want to rip us off and keep ripping us off. Everybody would be bankrupt, everybody. The whole country would be bankrupt. And I have to wait for this decision. I've been waiting forever. And the language is clear that I have the right to do it as president. I have the right to put tariffs on for national security purposes.
His trip to Rome, Georgia, comes with early voting underway in the special election to replace former GOP Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene, who had a falling out with the president before stepping down from Congress. It also comes as President Trump vows passage of the Save America Act, which would require voter ID and proof of citizenship to vote before the midterm elections.
We can expect all of this, President Trump's peacemaking efforts, his national security strategy, and his economic agenda to be on the table when next week he delivers his first State of the Union address of his second term.
Thank you, Mari. And as you heard, next Tuesday, President Trump will give the first State of the Union address of his second term.
What issues will the president talk about? And how has America changed since his first term?
NTD's Tiffany Meyer, along with Steve Lance and Mario Tu, on Monday, February 23rd at 6 p.m. Eastern. They'll be offering a preview of the major topics the president's expected to cover in the State of the Union.
And the president is expected to cover the most pressing issues of our day, from the economy to achieving peace abroad, and he'll reveal his yearly plan to Congress, the nation, and of course the world will be watching very closely on Tuesday. Join us at 7 p.m. Eastern as we track the president ahead of his speech. We're going to hear reactions from lawmakers and speak with panels on what it all means for you. Don't miss it, Tuesday at 7. And as we just heard from Mari, the president giving Iran 10 days to make a deal or threatening military action. Joining us now live to discuss the situation in Iran is Brandon Weichert. He's senior national security editor at 1945.com, as well as author of The Shadow War, Iran's Quest for Supremacy. Brandon, always good to see you. We both thought President Trump would strike Iran shortly after that Maduro capture. Are you surprised nothing happened, considering all of the casualties of those protesters?
Well, I think that he is going to go in, and I think that this could be very complicating for his presidency, especially going into the midterms. But I am surprised that, he didn't do something. I mean, I was told on January 15th he was wanting to go in, and he was talked out of it by the Turks and the Arabs. 3 weeks ago, he wanted to go in, and then he was talked out of it by the Navy because they said, we need one more carrier. Let's get the Ford in there. But now the Ford is coming in. It's in the Mediterranean now. It'll be on station as early as Sunday afternoon. I think that when Trump says 10 days, I think this could be a 48-hour warning because Trump doesn't ever give you the exact timeline. This is sort of his shtick. So I think they're going in now regardless. And I think that this will be this will make or break his presidency, I think.
Wow, the stakes are that high. And as you, of course, point out, with Midnight Hammer, he had given that 10-day warning. You saw it coming a mile away. But we both, again, thought that maybe he would have already gone in. So it's interesting. Can you share a little bit more about the context of why he's waited? You said both international partners who are key to this Gaza reconstruction effort, as well as the own military saying, hey, maybe we should wait. Iran clearly much higher capacity than what Maduro had. So give us a little more context on why he's been pausing.
Yeah, well, the first thing was in January 15th, the Saudis were the big breaking point. Mohammed bin Salman said, hey, if you guys go in, I will not use our air defense systems to shoot down the inevitable missile barrage from Iran that will be targeting U.S. bases in the region and, of course, Israel itself, which is a huge complicating factor. Then again, a few weeks later, they had the situation where Trump wanted to go in again, but the Navy was saying, with one carrier that's a tempting target for those Iranian anti-ship ballistic missiles, the Chinese are using their satellites to range and target that aircraft carrier for Iran. It is a high probability that we're going to lose one of that carrier. Let's bring in a secondary asset, the Ford, which is the most advanced carrier in the world. It's the largest carrier in the world. It's $13 billion. They're going to nestle it off the coast of Israel, and they're going to use the carrier, I think, for primarily air defense missions. So basically, once the carrier is there, they're going to start with the Abraham Lincoln launching strikes against Iran's targets regime. Iran will retaliate with their missiles against Israel, and the USS Ford will be in the Mediterranean with their planes ready to shoot those missiles down because Trump can't depend on the Arabs to shoot those missiles down. Although Saudi Arabia did say recently that they are now willing to participate. Now,
you had also warned when we discussed this that Iran may have layers of kill switches or sort of what to do when all is lost, like an existential threat kind of, on your way out, you sort of, I don't want to use the analogy I was going to use, but in all seriousness, what does that look like and how do you defend against that?
Yeah, so what's going to happen probably is it'll be a joint Israeli. In fact, I think the Israelis might actually be used like last year to strike first. Then they're going to tell the Americans, hey, we couldn't hit these targets. And then the Americans are going to come in and they're going to try to saturate the area. But the Iranians have sort of disaggregated their capabilities, so it's going to be hard to hit in one fell swoop. Whatever isn't destroyed, the Iranians will then retaliate with hypersonic weapons, missile barrages. Those will target the U.S. bases in the area. They will target Israel. Israel's going to receive significant damage, even with all the air defense capabilities. And then also, if the Iranians are not totally knocked out in the first blow, which I don't think they will be, they will probably blockade, mine, and try to stop the flow of oil through the Strait of Hormuz. And at that point, you're talking skyrocketing oil prices, at minimum $80 to $90 a barrel. I was told by a commodities trader 2 days ago that I know in Chicago that, hey, we're anticipating $130 to $150 barrel oil. So this is where it's going, because the regime understands this is no longer targeting military sites only like last year. This is targeting the regime. So they are going to fight as if it's for their life, because it is.
Now, I want to take us to the ground now in Iran. We have, our sister company has a Farsi edition. We have Iranian colleagues. They tell us that over the last 2 years, there's been a flip and that the Iranian people support Israel and even Netanyahu. What are your thoughts on that?
I'm sure there's a lot. You have to understand, Iran is a very divided society. There's many different ethnicities and ideologies. It isn't all just Shiite, Persian Islamists. So I am sure there are large numbers of people who not only support Israel, but want to have closer ties with America and the West. But the question that I've always asked and never gotten a satisfactory answer is it a plurality of people? Or are they people who are primarily upset with the regime because of the economic situation? That's why they're protesting. And we haven't really gotten a sufficient answer. But to be clear, there is absolutely a large contingent of people in Iran who like the West and like Israel. I don't know if these protests are going to have the ability to overthrow the government, because Iran's security services are so proficient at targeting leaders of these movements and taking them out before they can rally like a Nelson Mandela was able to do.
Brandon Weichert, always appreciate your analysis. Thanks for joining.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, fascinating analysis there. And President Trump obviously he said he wants to make a deal with Iran. On the other side of the world, the world's largest Muslim majority nation, Indonesia, it has a new trade agreement with the White House. The country's president visiting Washington for the first time of President Trump's Board of Peace. Under the deal, Indonesia will eliminate tariffs on 99% of U.S. goods. The U.S. will maintain a 19% tariff on most Indonesian imports. Indonesia also agreed to lift restrictions on exports of critical minerals and other industrial commodities.
Companies from both countries reached commercial agreements worth more than $30 billion. That includes major purchases of U.S. energy, agriculture, and aircraft. Indonesia has also pledged to contribute 8,000 troops to the International Stabilization Force in Gaza.
All right, next, UFOs in the spotlight. President Trump yesterday ordering government agencies to release information about extraterrestrial life and related phenomena.
Now, the move followed former President Barack Obama's comments on alien life in a podcast interview earlier this week.
Barack Obama said that aliens are real. Have you seen any evidence of non-human visitors to Earth?
Well, he gave classified information. He's not supposed to be doing that.
So aliens are real?
Well, I don't know if they're real or not. I can tell you he gave classified information. He's not supposed to be doing that. He made a big mistake. He took it out of classified information. No, I don't have an opinion on it. I never talk about it. A lot of people do. A lot of people believe it. Do you believe it, Peter?
Facility. Unless
Obama was asked in an interview whether aliens were real, to which he replied, "They're real, but I haven't seen them, and they're not being kept in Area 51. Obama later said, "The odds are good, there's life out there, but the chances we've been visited by aliens is low."
In 2023, the White House acknowledged that there had been unexplained aerial phenomena that had been reported by pilots with the Navy as well as with the Air Force.
And ahead, Nancy Guthrie missing for 20 days now. Law enforcement still doesn't know where to find her, but they're asking neighbors for more video from a particular date. Welcome back. The search for Nancy Guthrie is entering its third week, and investigators are still working through tips and leads without a leading theory on her disappearance.
But they have ruled out the possibility that she was taken across the border. Arlene Richards has more on the story.
Another day has gone by, and despite thousands of tips and leads, law enforcement still hasn't located Nancy Guthrie, the 84-year-old mother of Today Show host Savannah Guthrie. And several authorities are still grappling over whether the disappearance was a targeted kidnapping, a burglary gone wrong, or something else. Pima County Sheriff Chris Nanos told the BBC on Wednesday that he believes it is a targeted kidnapping.
But the evidence and the case as it unfolds will prove that or prove something else. But yes, I believe it was.
Investigators did confirm to several news outlets on Thursday that Mrs. Guthrie likely isn't in Mexico. According to the New York Times, authorities ruled out a lead on a purchase thought to be connected to the case after communicating with Mexican officials. Surveillance footage from Nancy Guthrie's doorbell camera captured one masked man wearing black gloves and tampering with the camera. Nanos told ABC on Wednesday there are more images.
We have so many images from Ring cameras and videos of traffic videos, intersection videos.
Fox News reports that authorities on Thursday are asking residents near Nancy Guthrie's home to share doorbell camera footage dated to January 11th from 9 p.m. to midnight, a date that aligns with the time frame of a Google search for Guthrie's name. Google data shows a search was conducted on January 11th for Nancy Guthrie's address and her daughter Savannah Guthrie's salary. The outlets say a spokesperson for the Pima County Sheriff's Office told them the FBI has been canvassing the neighborhood asking for footage. The Pima County Sheriff's Department is requesting doorbell video camera footage anytime from January 1st to February 2nd. Meanwhile, the FBI has posted another call for tips that will help them find Nancy Guthrie. They're still offering a reward of up to $100,000.
We run all leads down until we have no more lead.
Arlene Richards, NTD News.
Virginia Governor Abigail Spanberger will deliver the Democratic response to President Trump's State of the Union next week.
The former CIA officer and three-term congresswoman became Virginia's first female governor in 2025, and she won by a historic margin.
Her speech will focus on affordability, health care, and defending Americans' freedoms. California Senator Alex Padilla will deliver the Spanish language response immediately afterward as Democrats seek to rebuild support among Latino voters.
Some Democratic lawmakers, they plan to skip the address entirely, or they're going to attend an alternative event, including a People's State of the Union rally scheduled for the National Mall. Party leaders say Spanberger's message highlights service, leadership, and a clear path forward ahead of the midterm elections.
Meanwhile, a Virginia judge has temporarily blocked a planned April referendum to redraw the state's congressional maps.
Tazewell County Circuit Court Judge Jack Hurley issued an emergency restraining order just yesterday.
The judge sided with the National Republican Congressional Committee and other plaintiffs who argued the measure was unconstitutional. The order prevents local officials from moving forward with the referendum and remains in effect until March 18th.
Early voting had been scheduled to begin March 6th. Virginia Democratic Attorney General Jay Jones has vowed to appeal the decision. The NRCC called the ruling a massive win for Virginians. Democratic leaders say they are confident that the order will be overturned as the broader redistricting fight continues.
And the city of Malibu is suing the state of California and city of Los Angeles over the Palisades fire. The lawsuit claims that government failures worsened the destruction. NTD's Christina Corona tells us more.
The city of Malibu is seeking accountability months after the Palisades fire tore through the community. It's asking for damages from the state of California as well as several state, county, and local agencies. In a 66-page complaint, Malibu says the wildfire destroyed more than 700 homes and dozens of businesses, leaving burn scars along the Pacific Coast Highway and damaging areas like Carbon Beach. City leaders say Malibu's entire character changed after the blaze burned down parts of the beachside community. The complaint says the fire was not an act of nature, but a result of what the city calls unlawful conduct and failures in inspection and emergency preparedness. The lawsuit claims officials prioritize protecting rare and environmentally sensitive plants over clearing hazardous vegetation near the site of the earlier Lockman fire, a burn area that allegedly reignited just days later. The city argues that state employees hindered firefighters' efforts to cut dry brush and remove fuel, even though hotspots and active burn areas were still visible. The lawsuit seeks to recover financial losses, including costs of emergency response, infrastructure repairs, environmental restoration, and lost revenue from tourism and local businesses. Malibu Mayor Bruce Silverstein says the decision to sue was not made lightly, adding that the city has a duty to protect residents and taxpayers while continuing to work with regional partners. The state of California and the city of Los Angeles have not yet commented on the lawsuit. Christina Corona, NTD News.
Updates on who could succeed Governor Gavin Newsom in California. Polls currently show Republican candidate Steve Hilton in the lead. NTD's David Lamb reports.
In the race for California's next governor, Republican candidate Steve Hilton takes the lead. A recent poll shows Hilton as the favorite with 17% support among 1,000 likely voters.
It's time for a new future. That's why I'm running for governor. To make this beautiful state that we love so much truly golden again.
The Fox News contributor has criticized California's current administration, particularly the state of homelessness.
I've made the decision to win this race, but I also know who it takes to win.
Democratic Congressman Eric Swalwell and Republican candidate Sheriff Chad Bianco are tied for second place at 14% each. In the California primary, the two candidates with the most support will advance to the general election in November, regardless of party. Silicon Valley Mayor Matt Mahan also entered the race this year.
Yeah, Matt Mahan. Yeah.
Matt Mahan. California has a jungle primary, right? So everyone's running at the same time.
That's right.
There's no separate lanes for Democrats or Republicans. If he ends up top two, let's say it's him and Swalwell, I think he'll win because all the Republicans will vote for him. They'll go for the more centrist candidate.
We had a political strategist over for dinner. There's a version where the top two people could be both Republicans actually right now. Current course and speed, the top two vote getters are trending to be both Republicans.
Former Democratic Congresswoman Katie Porter is at 10%, with billionaire Tom Steyer right behind her. The last time California had a Republican governor,
I'll be back,
was in 2006 under Arnold Schwarzenegger. The California primary is set for June 2nd, with the general election on November 5th. David Lamb, NTD News, California.
And staying in California, Hollywood mourning the loss of actor Eric Dane. In a statement, Dane's publicist says he died yesterday following a battle with ALS. He was 53 years old. The statement went on to say he spent his final days surrounded by family and friends. Dane, best known for his roles on Grey's Anatomy and Euphoria, his death comes less than a year after he announced his ALS diagnosis. According to the ALS Association, ALS is a progressive disease in which a person loses the brain's connection with the muscles, and that slowly takes away their ability to walk, talk, eat, and then eventually breathe. He proceeded to put his efforts into advocating for those who have progressive neurodegenerative diseases. Dane is survived by his wife, Rebecca Gayhart, and their two daughters.
Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton has filed lawsuits against Lorex and Temu, alleging both companies have ties to the Chinese Communist Party. The legal actions mark the third and fourth cases Paxton has brought this week, targeting companies over alleged connections to China. The suit claims Lorex, a security camera manufacturer, failed to disclose that some of its products contain components made by Dahua, and that's a Chinese firm previously blacklisted by the U.S. government over national security and human rights concerns. In a separate complaint, Paxton accuses Temu of operating what he calls spyware disguised as a shopping app. He alleges it could expose Americans' data under China's national intelligence laws. Both companies have not responded immediately. Paxton says Texas will act to protect consumers' privacy and security.
And up ahead, a Christian pastor in the UK says he was arrested twice while preaching in public. It's raising new questions about free speech and religious expression.
Welcome back to NTD Good Morning. The arrest of King Charles' brother, Andrew, dominated British newspaper headlines today.
Former Prince Andrew Mountbatten-Window yesterday evening was released from police custody, and that's after being arrested on suspicion of misconduct in public office over the allegation that he sent confidential government documents to Jeffrey Epstein. Here's more on that.
King Charles's younger brother, Andrew Mountbatten-Window, was released from police custody on Thursday evening after being arrested on suspicion of misconduct in public office over allegations he sent confidential government documents to Jeffrey Epstein. He was captured in this Reuters photograph, seated inside a car, appearing visibly shaken. Mountbatten-Window had been questioned all day by detectives from Thames Valley Police. They later said an arrested man had been released under investigation. The police force said it was looking into allegations that Mountbatten-Window had passed documents to the late convicted sex offender while working as a trade envoy. The arrest of the senior royal, eighth in line to the throne, is unprecedented in modern times. King Charles, who appeared at a fashion show in London just hours after his brother's arrest, said in a statement that, quote, "The law must take its course." Mountbatten-Window, the second son of the late Queen Elizabeth, has always denied any wrongdoing in relation to Epstein and said he regrets their friendship. His office did not respond to a request for comment, and he has not spoken publicly since the U.S. government released more than 3 million pages of documents relating to Epstein, who was convicted of soliciting prostitution from a minor in 2008. Those files suggested that in 2010, Mountbatten-Window forwarded Epstein reports about Vietnam, Singapore, and other places the former prince had visited on official trips. Sky Roberts, the brother of Virginia Giuffre, one of Epstein's most prominent accusers, welcomed Mountbatten-Window's arrest.
I think we're very hopeful that this is the start of the domino effect. This is where the house of cards starts falling. And, kudos to the UK for taking the first step, for saying, you know what, we are going to arrest somebody who is held to one of the highest esteems out there.
The arrest means that police have reasonable suspicion that a crime has been committed and that the royal is suspected of involvement in an offense, but it does not imply guilt.
And a look now at a case that touches on free speech and freedom of religion. It comes amid concerns that preachers in the UK are under immense pressure and face arrests for their Christian faith.
NTD's Daniel Monahan spoke with a Christian pastor who was recently arrested in Bristol's city centre.
Pastor Dia Moodley was arrested by Avon and Somerset police officers last November in Broadmead on suspicion of inciting religious hatred.
I'm not a politician, I'm not an activist, I'm a pastor, and I just want to be left alone in the United Kingdom to do what is lawfully allowed for us to do, peaceably, lawfully allowed to do, which is the preaching of the Bible, prayer in the public square, reading of the scriptures in the public square, and the proclamation of the gospel in the public square.
Moodley has now been arrested twice for just that. This time around, he says, for a comparison between religions.
One of the methodologies we use is we engage in a Q&A, where we'll take questions from the public. And so people asked about our view of Islam, and we made it very clear factually what we believe Islam to be compared to Christianity. They took offense to that, and when the police arrived, they made their complaint, and the police then proceeded to arrest me without asking any questions.
The second part of the arrest related to the topic of gender.
So I held up a book and the Bible, and this book says, there's a baby in my daddy's belly, and the other book is the Bible. So I asked the audience, which one is true concerning our gender? Are there multiple genders? Can men have babies? Or is the Bible true that there are only two genders?
I contacted the Avon and Somerset police, who confirmed that a man was arrested in November of last year on suspicion of what they called a racially or religiously aggravated public order offense. He was also banned from entering the Bristol city centre until the end of December, which stopped him from preaching over the busy Christmas period. Moodley was arrested under the Public Order Act of 1986. The legal firm Alliance Defending Freedom says the act has very vague and broad terms, like causing alarm and distress through your words, or inciting hatred around religion or race.
Because they're not precisely and very tightly defined, the authorities are using them with very broad discretion to crack down on totally lawful and peaceful expression.
The legal firm says Moodley was assaulted in March of last year by what it described as Muslim bystanders who disagreed with his views. It says one man even threatened to stab him. The legal firm says police arrived at the scene and threatened to arrest the pastor and took no action against those it says assaulted him.
We think this is censorship plain and simple. And we think it also goes to this concept of two-tier policing, which we think is really prevalent in the UK, where the police are prioritizing certain worldviews over others. So what we've seen from his experience is that the police are prioritizing Islam and a progressive worldview over the views of a Christian.
Prior to the March incident, Moodley met with the U.S. State Department, who sent a delegation to address censorship in the UK.
Keir Starmer says that we have a long history of freedom of speech. And we said on the ground level, we know that as Christians, our freedom of speech is being threatened. That no matter what we say and how carefully we even say it, going to great lengths to make sure that we don't get arrested, yet we're still getting arrested.
Moodley says his case is in a state of limbo right now. He hopes police will have to answer for his arrest.
They've not only arrested me now the second time, they've destroyed my preaching signs which have scriptures on them. They took the liberty to trample them underfoot, to destroy them, to put them in the bin.
The pastor says the public should be very concerned about the threat to free speech in the UK.
This is the absolute reality. We're seeing it at grassroots level, on street level, that our freedom to speak freely as Christians is under threat. And we need all the help we could get.
Alliance Defending Freedom International is calling on the British Parliament to repeal what it calls anti-free speech legislation and to stop what it describes as two-tier policing. Daniel Monahan, NTD News.
And up ahead, American figure skater Alysa Liu wins gold at the Milan Cortina Games, the first U.S. women's champ in 24 years.
And from trackside speed to off-road obstacles to McLaren's most powerful supercar yet, we take a look inside this year's Toronto Auto Show. Welcome back. Team USA has won Olympic gold in women's hockey, defeating Canada 2-1 in overtime in Milan.
Hillary Knight, she tied the game with only 2 minutes left in regulation. That was her 15th goal in at forced overtime.
Megan Keller netted the game winner, slipping past a defender and beating Canadian goalie Anne-Renee Desbiens between the legs. Canada had taken a 1-0 lead early in the second period on a short-handed goal by Kristen O'Neill.
U.S. goalie Aaron Frankel stopped 30 shots as the Americans edged Canada 33-31 in shots on goal, a key metric. And Knight was appearing in her 5th Winter Games. She called the team an amazing squad after securing now her 2nd Olympic gold.
And Alysa Liu has won gold in women's figure skating. She becomes the first American woman to claim the Olympic title in the event since 2002. The 20-year-old from the San Francisco Bay Area scored a career-high 226.79 points to finish ahead of Japan's Kaori Sakamoto and Ami Nakai. Liu briefly retired after the 2022 Beijing Games, citing burnout.
Her father, Arthur Liu, he fled China after the 1989 Tiananmen Square protests. He has publicly ruled out allowing his daughter to represent China, citing human rights concerns. He was previously identified by U.S. authorities as a target of an alleged transnational repression plot tied to the Chinese regime. Liu called her return to the Olympic stage a personal victory, saying she wanted simply to be present and to compete.
And with the Winter Olympics underway in Italy, Chinese-American figure skater, as you've been hearing, Alysa Liu, is in the spotlight.
That's right. She was surveilled by Chinese spies during the 2022 Beijing Games. That was when she was just 16. After those games, she retired after that debut, but she made this stunning comeback, which we showed you. So she stopped skating, she took a little time off, and then she hit it hard, and now she's a champion.
Yeah. So before yesterday's big game, Alysa's father, Arthur Liu, who's in Italy to cheer for her, he sat down with NTD's Tiffany Meyer to share what truly makes an Olympian.
What was it like watching your daughter live at the Olympics?
It is an amazing experience. As a parent, it's just, I'm so happy just to see her skate so well on the Olympic ice, and everybody's so thrilled.
She's had quite a comeback story, if you will, because at the young age of 16, she said she was going to retire. What was your reaction at that time?
Well, I was a little bit sad when she let me know that she was retiring. She actually decided to retire like a year and a half before the 2020 Olympic Games. And she really didn't want to skate anymore. And for that 1 year and a half, she was in agony. She didn't want to be at the ice rink. And as a parent, it was extremely sad for me to see her in that mental status. This comeback for her is all on her own terms. She decided which coaches to go to, what music to skate to, and when to practice, when to train, when not to train, what to eat, what to drink, when to drive herself to the ice rink. She's very driven. She's actually very competitive, but medals, placement in competitions don't really matter to her that much. You know, I mean, her focus was to do two main good programs in the competitions, the short program and the free skate. She just wants to do two great programs that she's happy with.
Justice Department and FBI said that China actually sent individuals to track and target you and your family, including her, ahead of the Olympics. Talk to us about what was Beijing's motivation? Were you afraid for her?
Well, because of my background, because I was wanted by the Chinese government back in 1989, and after I came to America, I also continued to organize protests in front of the Chinese consulate in San Francisco. The Chinese government has never let me go. They sent spies to the U.S. The spy actually became friends with me. I befriended him. I helped him a lot, you know, in settling down in the San Francisco Bay Area. And I treated him as my friend. And many years later, he confessed that he was actually a spy for the Chinese government on me.
Yeah, that there was Arthur Liu, father of Olympian figure skater Alysa Liu, as you've been seeing. So to watch a longer version of this exclusive interview, you can always visit ntd.com. We encourage you to do so.
What an amazing story. I mean, when he's sharing, obviously he's like super relatable, because any father, you know, can see how proud he is of his daughter. But he describes this unusual phenomena that us Westerners really struggle to understand with communist countries, because a childhood friend of his was forced by the communist regime to spy on his friend. Yeah. And that's why the gentleman admitted to it afterwards, because clearly that person was morally conflicted over it.
Yes, and so many examples of people being turned against each other, even from the beginning of the Cultural Revolution there in China, but continuing through in so many ways, and corruption. But such a story of hope here, right? And of success with Liu, younger Liu, coming out with gold for the USA.
And he contrasts that, of course, because other Chinese, ethnically Chinese athletes that are in America have worn the Chinese flag at the Olympics. But he said until these human rights issues are addressed, he would never let his daughter skate for China under that current regime. And he's very proud, of course, of the freedoms he has here as an American.
Yes, an important message there. Next, the Canadian International Auto Show has long served as a key barometer for the North American automotive industry. And this year's event in Toronto is no exception.
Transforming the Metro Toronto Convention Centre into a hub of innovation, the show has drawn thousands of enthusiasts to explore the evolving art of automotive power. Check it out.
From the cutting-edge supercars to massive engineering feats built from toy bricks, the exhibition highlights a year of record-breaking milestones for major manufacturers. Among the most anticipated reveals is McLaren's new flagship, the W1. Following in the footsteps of the legendary F1 and P1, the W1 stands as a primary highlight of the show.
To define what makes a real supercar and what a one car really is and what it means. We landed on 4 principles. So the first is performance everywhere. Second, epic power. Third, pure connection. And the fourth one is authentic theatre.
Powering the W1 is a hybrid V8, delivering 1,275 horsepower, capable of a 0 to 200 sprint in 5.8 seconds. In race mode, an active long-tail rear wing adds 1,000 kilograms of downforce for high-speed stability.
But then we've got this huge well of performance that you can just draw on at any time. The real kind of art, though, is making a car that feels fantastic, feels visceral and exciting when you're only using 10% of the available performance, and that's definitely.
While McLaren defines performance through trackside precision, Jeep is taking a more rugged approach to the show floor. From the asphalts to the incline, the Camp Jeep experience allows attendees to feel a very different kind of power.
Just over there is our Camp Jeep activation. This is the 4th year we've had it here in Toronto. It's always a favorite here. This year we should probably pass 100,000 riders here at the Toronto Auto Show. Always popular feature. It allows people to come to the auto show and experience all the tests that we put a Jeep through before a customer gets it, but here in the safety and the warmth of the auto show floor. There's 5 different obstacles that the Jeeps go around to show everything from ground clearance to articulation. And one of the things we like about this year is that it has a Canadian theme. So all of the activations around it are all themed after different locations in Canada, whether it's Grossmore National Park, Dinosaur Park, or even Peggy's Cove.
From rugged trails to luxury sales, Cadillac is celebrating a record-breaking year in Canada. This year, the brand is also looking toward the future of racing with its entry into Formula One.
In fact, in 2025, we had our 6th consecutive best year ever in the Canadian market. We became the luxury EV leader, earning over 30% of the market. I am looking forward to Cadillac entering F1 racing. It'll kick off in Melbourne not too long from now.
This 1950s Cadillac Fleetwood replica is a major draw this year. Constructed from over 400,000 Lego elements, the life-size model was completed in just 4 months by a team of 7 engineers and builders. Beyond its scale, the exhibit features a functional drivetrain and seating for 5, integrating toy engineering with classic automotive design.
How do you start? You start with a blank piece of paper with a lot of research and inspiration from different model years of Cadillac. And then, just like you would do in your home or in the bedroom if you're a kid, you build and create until we went through about 12 different iterations of the design. For the small car, and at the same time we actually did a wooden mock-up of the interior because we needed to seat 5 people and to make sure everybody fits. We had the special configuration for a cameraman because that was the ask. 3 people in the back, Derek Cruz behind the wheel, so we had to do the math right from the start.
From high-performance engineering by Bugatti and Audi to a diverse collection of exotic vehicles, the event provides a comprehensive look at the luxury automotive segment. The exhibits reflect an industry that continues to prioritize specialized craftsmanship and technical innovation amidst evolving market trends. NTD News, Canada.
Fun report there. It's always fun to see what innovations are rolling off the lot. Those McLarens are very cool. You know, they started out as a pure Formula One racing company, and then they sort of stripped them down and started releasing them to the general public. But they're still at the top of the F1, rankings. And you're basically paying for one of those cars what most people pay for a house. So it's not for the everyday person, but to be able to go in them and check them out is cool.
Yeah.
And then, of course, being able to do a little off-roading indoors in a Jeep, that looks like a lot of fun, too.
Yeah, wonderful to see the innovation, the creativity, the vision, engineering, of course. There were over 300,000 people there in attendance, all reveling in this, what is the leadership in this area. So awesome to see. I loved the Lego personally. But.
Yeah, the Lego was cool, and the retro Cadillac. Interesting to see also that Cadillac's getting into the Formula One game. McLaren being a British company and Cadillac being a very iconic American brand. We'll see if they can get their racers onto the podium with what they'll be putting out there. So good times. Well, look, we do have to end it here, but if you have any feedback on the show or there's a story you'd like to see us cover, please shoot us an email at goodmorning@ntd.com. We'd love to hear from you.
And for round-the-clock original news coverage, watch us live at ntd.com/live or download our NTD app. I'm Stephanie Cox.
I'm Carrie Dunst. Have a great weekend.